Hey everyone, here's the latest Build, Tune, Race podcast with myself and Doug Cook of Motion Raceworks. We go over all things Motion Raceworks, as well as talk about a lot of things Gen 5 related for the new Gen 5 engine that GM has out, and he holds the world record right now for the fastest combo. So check it out, and I hope you guys get some good information out of it. What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Hard at it today?
Yeah, still at the shop a little bit, so working on some things after hours, trying to get caught up. It's been a crazy week, so.
That's a good thing, though.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get caught up, or still trying to get caught up from Lights Out? Because you took a little trip down there, huh?
Yeah. Well, luckily, we're getting to the point now where we have some guys that stay behind, so we keep up with orders for the most part while we're gone now, and then we're just pretty hot into some development stuff and new parts, new cars, and all kinds of stuff.
Heck yeah. So. You got a few projects going on. I know that much.
Yep. We're getting into the months where I'm not going to be sleeping much. So.
Yeah, race season's almost upon us.
Yeah, I was just watching a video about your build. That looks like it's coming along pretty good.
Yeah, I want to do more with it, but you gotta choose business or trying to grow something or spend the money on playing, and that's always a battle. But
yep,
it'll get done. I really want to get it done for some events this summer, and it's going to be simple. So actually, I want to go over some things that you'll know about the LT stuff that I don't know about. And I was like, I'll send him a message back and forth, and I was like, no, I'll just wait until we get on the live feed and ask him. So I know you'll have the answers.
Yeah, that works, man.
So why don't we, as we get started, tell everybody kind of who you are or what you do and what Motion Raceworks is and all of that stuff.
Cool. So Motion is a thing that we dreamed up about 3 years ago. Started off as just me, and I raced Ultra Street car and 04 Cobra, just like your typical LS swap stuff. And I just was like, I kind of got to have something to name my my race program. So I was like, Motion Raceworks. I dreamed it up. So at that point, I was just kind of working the corporate world and stuff. And at that point, people kind of started to take notice of the cars we were building and the things we were doing. And I started building cars for other people. And then along the way, I started building, custom parts and stuff, just things that I'm like, man, I wish they had this, or I wish they did this better. The next thing you know, people are buying the parts from us or asking about them. I'm like, I'll give it a shot. So I started, I think our first product we ever made was a turbo flange that had like little ears on it to mount it because nobody had a good way to mount a turbo. So
sure,
we just sold out of those and sold out of them and sold out of them. And then we just started making more products. And then before you know it, I'm like, hey, I might quit my normal job and do this. And then a couple months, flash back a little bit, I joined up forces with my brother and another buddy at that early on, and we just kind of pushed the three of us back and forth. And next thing you know, I was like quitting my day job, and we opened a shop, store, and then the online retail business took off, and then so now our big focus is our own products because we keep designing and making new products, but we're also like the Boost EFI Superstore. So it's kind of what we're aiming to be, and just a problem solver and a place where you can go and get the parts that actually matter and not like floor mats and shit. So
yeah, I saw you made a post here. I don't know, it's been maybe a month, 2 ago that said, hey, if you have any products that you're looking to have made or have any ideas for us, send us a message. And it's not very common in the motorsports area, so it's really cool, man, that you're just willing to reach out and say, what do you guys got? What can we do?
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of the nature of it all is if one person is having an issue, everybody's having an issue. So that's kind of the reason why our company started, is because I was building cars. I'm like, man, this sucks, there's got to be a better way. And so I just try and listen to what people say. And luckily my brother is now full-time at the shop, and he does all of our design work, and he's an engineer. So we're just pumping out new designs, and we're kind of at the point now where we used to outsource a lot of our machining and stuff, and now we're purchasing CNC machines to do it all in-house so we can be faster and do more stuff. So, yeah.
Heck yeah, that's always nice when you have it right there. And for R&D purposes, you can whittle out something that you need right then and there, and it goes on. And we had a water jet. I worked for my dad. We had a water jet, so that was always nice. So I need a fabrication tab that's this long by this big with this hole in it, that whatever, you just go knock it out and throw it on the car, and that was super handy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the market kind of takes care of itself with the big stuff. You know, everybody's after the big dollar items, the big parts, and they always kind of forget the little stuff, and that's what we focus on. That's what we want to help people with. So luckily, a lot of the stuff we've kind of developed and come out with has been stuff that people are like, yeah, I did need that. So some of the parts I'll go back and forth with Brian, who's the other partner, and then my brother, and they're like, you're crazy, man. Why would you make that? And I'm like, well, I want it. I guarantee it sells. Bet me. So we'll make it, and then they'll sell. But yeah.
Yep. Heck yeah. That's the way that it is, though. When you're in it, you're not just looking at it from another side of it. You're looking at it as, what can I use? And I'm sure through your LT, through your Nova build, you figured out a lot of what wasn't out there yet, especially using a platform that wasn't even, nobody's really done what you did with the LT platform.
Yeah. I mean, kind of the interesting take on our business is we're not sitting around like a boardroom with a bunch of suits and ties on and khakis and shit, like thinking, man, what can we make next? What's going to give us a bunch of profit? We're like, I'm sitting in the garage working on stuff on the weekend, and I'm just writing notes like, I need this, I need this, I need this. And I know everybody else needs it. So I think that's why we're unique and we're growing so fast.
So you offer a wide range of parts now, right? I mean, you have your Motion Wake Raceworks line of stuff that consists of one-off, like fabricated parts, header kits, different things, all sourced of very high quality pieces and parts. Like your headers, you're working with Stainless Works on those, right?
Yeah, we're developing a couple different lines with them on some private label stuff for us. Traditionally, I always built and made my own headers myself, and one of the challenges we're running across is just labor. So there's only, in a given population, there's only so many guys who can just lay down beautiful weld beads like Stephen Eads of the world or something like that. I can do it. I don't have enough time today, so we're just kind of working with a lot of good companies in industry, and I feel like that's another kind of soul to what we're doing is I'll boot the shit companies, man. I'm not afraid to tell them to kick rocks, and because I don't really care. At the end of the day, it's all about making sure that when something's on our site, people are like, man, I know it's good because Doug doesn't stand for that shit. So, but yeah, we're so fortunate to have. There is like a little subsector of this business of guys that are cool with making stuff in the USA still. People are focused on quality, and if you look around our website, those are the brands that we represent. So,
absolutely. So, what other products I would say that you kind of pride yourself on? What do you?
We've had a lot of success in the boosted and EFI world. So, we do really good with turbochargers and stuff like that. We teamed up with Precision. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. I was getting a call. We teamed up with Precision a couple years ago, and I just thought, I've had so much success with everything I've used with them that it's, and they're really kind of getting in tune with the market. They're coming out with a budget series turbo. They released a couple of them recently. So they're a good partner with us. We've been building some pretty nasty combos lately. And then we work really closely with fuel systems with people. I think that's like a really underestimated portion of the market. People don't know what the hell they're doing with it. And a lot of times, whether it's a company I sell or somebody else, a lot of the times the failures and the issues people have are their own doing. So we put a lot of fuel system kits together. We do a lot of consulting with that type of thing. we work with TBM Brakes. They have such an awesome, innovative new line of brakes. Their stuff is like, it's like here, you know. So we really like working with them, and we've kind of taken a liking to their products. I mean, the list goes on and on, but I mean, we're just kind of weeding through the companies we want to work with and don't want to work with. Texas Speed, they've been around forever. They've had their ups and downs, but man, those guys are just kicking ass these days. So we're doing some dyno testing with them and developing new products with them. So I'm sure I could name off 10 other. Oh, Stroud Safety, they're kick ass. But yeah, I'll go on and on, but nobody wants to hear me talk about companies in the infomercial forever. So.
No, but that's what I think kind of sets you apart too. Is you're doing that. You're going through the companies. You're only putting your name behind stuff that you would run yourself, that you're doing yourself. You're not just reselling it because you have that you can put a good markup on it. It's all quality stuff. So anything that somebody orders from you, I've kept up, and it was crazy, man. You've grown so fast. It seems like, at least in the social media world.
Yeah. No, the company has too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, I remember watching the little your bump box or your bump buttons and stuff that you have that mount to the steering wheels, and that was kind of
product.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody was all about those, and they're buying. I was like, "Wow, motion racing! Oh, that's a cool product. That's kind of innovative and different, and it's a complete package, something that somebody can get from you and just put on the car and use it. It's not here's a button and here's a bracket, and then it might or might not fit your steering wheel or whatever." So that's what I started really kind of paying attention to when you started running stuff like that. I was like, "Oh, wow!" So definitely doing some stuff to create interest and outside the box thinking. On the, I got a question for the precision line of stuff on your Nova. You ran the 76-75s, right?
67, 66 is what I have.
67.
Yep.
Okay. So we're doing a build where we're going to use some 76s, but there's your regular Gen, and then you got your Pro Mod Gen 2s. What's, really the big difference on those?
Well,
because the price difference is huge.
Yeah, there's a couple lines. So they have their new cast wheel 76-75, which is a really affordable one. We've been selling the shit out of those. The 76-75 CEA, that's a nasty little turbo. You can make, like, I had an LS notchback like 7 years ago that went 840s at 3,000 pounds on one of those. Wow. That's an awesome turbo. The Gen 2 is a ball bearing turbo with the new wheel on it. Pretty much the same turbo other than that as the 76-75. And then they have like a GT42, which has a big Pro Mod cover, and it's got a different wheel. So they got a couple different options. But yeah, the 76-75
is... I got you. So the Gen 2 is kind of all the bells and whistles, but not necessarily completely needed to make the power, but it's just a better...
Yeah, you can count on like another 100 or a little bit more horsepower out of the Gen 2, and then you got the ball bearing stuff, so you can like push it higher in the boost and not worry about thrust issues and all of that. So we're on the Nova. We pulled the 67s off, and we're putting a 76-75 Gen 2s on it. So we'll give it a run this year.
So the post you made earlier, and then I asked if anybody had any questions. They said, "You going to go for 6s?"
Yeah, we're going to give it a damn shot. So put it this way, we're going to make sure it's got a diaper on the car this year. So I'm like my own biggest competitor. So we never really did get a chance to turn it up last year on the 67s. I'm pretty sure the car would have gone like 750s, 740s on those turbos.
Yeah.
Literally the next day after we went 770, it snowed. So like we finally got everything sorted out. And then we had one day of like greatness, and then it was like, oh, there's snow. So.
And that was pretty cool. So 1320, it was 1320, right? That shot that video when you guys went your 7-second pass.
Yeah, Mike Prike of photography came out. He's an acquaintance of mine from Chicago, and he was like, "Dude, you're gonna make history today. I got to come down." I'm like, "Okay." So it was just like a private test session. There was about 4 or 5 cars.
Very cool. So I want to get in. If you guys would, for Doug and I, please hit the share button down below in the comments. Share this out to everybody, all your friends, race car people for us, and we'll get into some more here. So you went to Drag Week, right? You kind of
Yep.
got the car done right before Drag Week, and I love these stories. Everybody's got one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you share your Drag Week story with us, I
So,
know it was a battle.
oh God, it was terrible. It was great and terrible all at the same time. But so I started the Nova build like this time last year, and it was a tall order. Dude, I got made fun of so much by everybody. They're like, "You're just a hillbilly from Iowa. Like, you're trying to do nobody like people aren't even swapping these things and whatever." So, long nights, late weekends, no sleep. Like come June, the car was like all fabbed up. I think I just got the motor. Well, long story short, the month or two leading up to Drag Week, it was just pure hell. I slept on the couch. I can't in the shop. I don't know how many times. Like my buddy Brad Nagel was wiring it, and nobody wanted to help us because they were kind of laughing at us. There were like some other companies in the industry like kind of joking about it. And anyways, long story short, we got to the point where the car went in fire, and I think it was like 3 weeks before Drag Week. I gave up. I actually went down to Denver, hung out with my girlfriend for a week. And a buddy of mine from Australia met me. He actually did Drag Week, and I met him in Denver. And he's like, "Dude, you got to go back, get the car running." So the last 2 weeks before Drag Week, I rolled back, and it was freaking hell, man. It was terrible. We have stayed up every hour of every day working on it, and literally 3 days. I think it was 3 days before Drag Week. We put it on the dyno for the first time, and it was like idling. It was the biggest pile of shit ever. It wouldn't even run. So, long story short, we went back and forth a number of times. And the day before Drag Week, I'm like, man, I can't get full throttle. The thing only gave me 40% throttle. There was a whole chain of events of things that were wrong just from the swap. The thing about that car is a lot of people had Gen 5 cars that were running good, but nobody knew how to swap one and make it do that, in like an old muscle car. So that's what we were battling.
Right.
So Drag Week came up, and my brother's like, "Dude, you really want to go with it? It won't even go a 15-second quarter mile." I'm like, "No, we're doing this, man." So we went through testing too. Like, dude, we were in the tech line at Drag Week, and I was wiring the car still, and not because I was trying to be a drama queen. I was wiring the car. And so anyways, get through tech. The next day we go down track, 15 seconds. And at that point, I'm like, man, this is going to be one embarrassing week. So I started calling every person that could ever possibly know anything about Gen 5 stuff, even like General Motors. I was in contact with the engineers at General Motors, and everybody's like, man, I have no idea. Well, the third night of Drag Week, the second night of Drag Week, I'm like, man, it acts like there's a clutch or some type of switch. Anyways, so the third night when we got to the hotel, we pulled the entire wiring harness out of the car, and I found 2 wires that needed to be connected. So like in a Camaro, if you had like a clutch switch, it would have connected them. Long story short,
I see.
It was fixed then. And so then we had the last 2 days, and we went 9s the last 2 days. We had some issues, and but it was awesome because we went from like the guy I remember hearing in the announcement, like, "Oh, this poor guy, I can't believe he's still going with this thing," because every pass was like 15 seconds, man. I couldn't even do a burnout. And then the like final 2 days, they're like, "Whoa, look at this thing," and then people started taking note.
Whole different car.
And then
not long after that, right, is when you set their Gen 5 record.
Yeah, we had those Gen 5s have a really interesting valve train compared to an LS, and what we learned is on a combo like that, in my opinion, the stock rocker arms just aren't really necessarily sufficient. We're going to play around with some different valve train tricks to see if we can't fix that in some future builds, but long story short, it ate the tips off the top of the valves. So we tore the motor apart, AES engines, rebuilt it, and then like a month later, I think we went in, and it was like everybody was still kind of like, "You'll never go 7s," and we turned it up. I think we went like 8-10 our first pass or second pass, and then from there it was just chipping away at it. So.
And if you guys don't know the video we're talking about, 1320 Video did it. Do you know the title of the video?
I think it was they were bored with LS engines. Hold on, I got some fruit gushers for Trevor Kurtz.
There you go. Those are available now on Motion's website. I saw that.
MotionRaceworks.com. Yep. But yeah, that 1320 video kind of they were about the only guys who really took note. And Kyle was following me all week from 1320. He's like, "How you doing, man? How's it going? Are you making any headway?" Like every day, check in. So it was pretty cool by the end of the week because he had like a good like Cinderella story put together in video, and everybody else was walking by the car the whole week, and they're like, "Oh, that's a nice looking LS motor." I'm like, "It's not an LS motor. If it was, I would be kicking some ass right now." So, but yeah, by the end of the week, Kyle had a pretty cool setup going.
Very cool, man. I'm trying to turn off my dang ringer. It keeps going off on here. So after watching kind of what you did, I've kind of had the idea of building an RX2, and then I ended up getting a Gen 5 L83.
Yep.
Mine's going to be that completely. I know you know it, but some people don't or whatever. But it's completely stock L83, and I'm just going to see what it does in the car. But I want it to drive from here to the drag week, whether that's 2 hours or 10 hours away. Go do it and drive it back, like super drivable.
Yep.
If you saw my build, it's super close to the front of the car because the car is tiny. Is the LT comparable to like the LS where your accessories sit closer? Corvette, Camaro, truck.
Yeah.
Is that all the same?
Yeah, I would say the LT, like on the Nova, we have the LT4 crank in it. That thing's super tight. I'd say basically, yeah, and then like the truck accessories are a little closer than the Corvette stuff. Or than the LS truck accessories, but basically the dimensions of the LT are identical to the LS on the outside, is what we found. Front water ports to trans plate are identical, so side to side.
So physically, yeah, no longer. The only thing that I saw, the mechanical fuel pump sits off the back of the engine a little bit, I guess.
That makes it kind of a pain on some stuff.
Right. So what's now on you're not running any of this, but maybe you can answer that for me. I'm looking at keeping probably the DOD and everything, so I got to have the little air pump, right?
The vacuum pump on the front?
Yeah, the little vacuum pump.
That's probably a question for somebody else. I threw that shit away long ago.
Yeah, you got rid of all that. I don't know why. I think I want to just put it in there so I have a completely stock setup to kind of play with, like on HP tuners and all that. So So if someone wanted to come to me and say, "Hey, can you tune my LT?" Then I have a basic understanding of what it is from the stock and go from there. But
that's really cool.
That's what I was talking to somebody. They're like, "I'll just gut that." I'm like, "Well, that's kind of what I want to keep it for now. I'm sure it won't be on there for very long, but at least at the beginning."
It's always cool to challenge yourself a little bit. We threw that away because I had basically on the front of the cam there's a oil-filled timing gear, and from what I understand, those things don't get very happy with cars that have huge dynamic changes and horsepower and two-steps. So I knew that was going to be a tuning challenge, so we just kind of threw that out the window right away.
So, and then on your car, your stock computer, except for you're using an aftermarket ECU to power the injectors that are in the intake, like what would be a conventional EFI engine, right?
Yep. Blake Hughes converted one of the Holley 417s for me. But yeah, we're using port injection on that. We actually since have changed the ignition over to the aftermarket ECU2, because at the time when we did that 770 pass, nobody had a two-step for that. So we were having a hard time getting the car to leave, especially on drag radials.
Sure.
So I was able to figure out how to disable all of the ignition controls for the stock ECU, which was kind of interesting. And that was like a couple-day process in itself, but we got that figured out. So that was nice as far as like in power management and all that stuff. I saw David Henderlong said on here that DOD isn't related to the air pump, so.
Yeah, how to use it try to use it as a vacuum pump instead of the for the cranky vac,
Yeah.
since it's already in there.
I will say the LT seems to make a little bit more crankcase pressure than the LS motor does, so make sure you got that thing vented properly.
What's your whole take on the LT? I guess you said what crank is in yours?
Mine's an LT4 crank.
And then you have good rods and pistons in it?
Yep. I would say that motor is the next step past the LS. The head bolts are bigger diameter. Everything's beefier from the factory on that motor. The cranks are better from what I see. The intake ports are phenomenal on it. I know initially there were some guys that were kind of concerned about the exhaust port because they have like kind of a funky little turn at the end of them, which is very non-traditional, right. But those heads make ridiculous power. I've had comparable LS setups to what my LT motor was, and none of them would have responded like what my motor did on my Nova. So I think that's a pretty bright future for those motors. And I plan on making it better and easier for the LT world. That's kind of what we're focusing on parts wise. But once people realize that, I think it's going to be a huge takeoff in the market. Because, I mean, they've been out for 3 or 4 years now, so there's millions of them out there in the streets. And right now they're a bargain. You can buy a badass. I mean, the heads are miles above the LS head, so they're a bargain, and you can buy them and buy them up now. Because once people figure it out.
Yeah, so I mean, the guy that I got mine from, he pulled it out of a truck and put a 6.2 in it, the L86, and he had this for sale. And he wanted $1,400. I got it down to like $1,100. So I have $1,100 into my LT from intake to pan, 30,000-mile engine. So I mean,
yeah, and the rotating parts inside that thing are badass. So
right on. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
that's what. I don't know how much I'll beat on it, but I'm sure. I don't think it'd be too crazy to beat on it for a year or something, and then end up boosting it or whatever to see what it'll really do. Or
for sure.
It's always hard to say that you won't go faster, and then you go out and play, and you always want to turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, everybody does.
Heck yeah. What else we got? What other projects you want to talk about? Your other cars that you kind of got going?
The one I can't talk about yet. But I will say we got a pretty sick ass drag week car coming up, so we're starting that next week. There'll be a little YouTube series about it, kind of a little mini reality show that we're going to be doing. People definitely want to check that out. We have a Coyote Swap Fox that we are hot on the making parts for. We just crossed over to the Coyote world quite a bit on a bunch of different platforms. We bought last year we bought a car. I don't say I forgot about it like in a bragging way, but we almost forgot about the car. It was just sitting out back. But it's a 2012 Mustang, and that thing's getting all the boost too. And I got a pretty cool C10 project I'm wrapping up right now as well. So we got our hands full. We're hiring people and stuff. So kind of the goal is that we can keep doing what we do rather than getting caught up in the day-to-day stuff. So.
Yeah, I saw your post about looking for somebody that'll video and do all that stuff. So that'll be a really cool little project. And that's kind of what I've figured out with like the new car and vlogging and all that is if you can document it while you're building it, you get a lot of people that wonder, like if you would have documented your whole Nova build and trials and tribulations and everything that you went through on it, like how much content there'd be there and people could learn from and all that. But
yeah, I mean, my whole thing too is like, this has been my like take on business. Like, dude, I fail as much or more than anybody else because I'm willing to, I don't care. I'll take that loss. But you know, for our customers, that's why I decided to do like the Nova and this new project, because I'm like, man, if I can fail at this and teach people how I failed, they won't fail. And I know that, you know, together we'll develop all kinds of new crap and, things are just better. And, you know, I went back after we did the Nova and I tried to put together a blog and I did pretty good. I have a pretty good writing ability, but it's like you forget so much of it. Whereas if I had, like, we're going to have a videographer just following me around for for the next 6 months while we build this new project. And so surely he's going to capture the good, bad, and the ugly. So
yeah, that's all part of it. I guess you gotta pick and choose, and that's where I guess editing can come in. But sometimes that's the best parts are the hard parts that you don't want to show, but that's where you actually are learning and doing what you can do. So
yeah, I don't have an
that'll be
ego.
cool. I'm
I'm
excited.
okay
That'll
being
be
shown as the whatever,
yep. So that'll be cool. So you're doing Drag Week for sure then.
for sure.
Any other events that you kind of plan on or that you want to go to or?
I want to. So the Nova, I did a few updates on. So I'm gonna go drag some dudes around on the no prep scene a little bit this year. There's some people who's got a little big in the britches the last couple of years, so it's time to step out there a little bit and just have some fun, even if I don't win. But I think it'll be fun. When I started this business, I sold everything I had race car wise, and I've just been dying to go out and race again. So I want to go have fun with that. And then this new project, hopefully we get it done sometime in the summer. And I'd like to do Drag Week with it and go to the LS Fest and a couple other things. And then we already got invited to SEMA with this new car, so it'll be pretty fun.
Cool. Yeah, I plan on being out there, so at least I saw you walking around PRI. That's always a cool event. You were getting ready to do your little interview with Precision when you were in their booth and stuff. So I was gonna say hey, but I was like, he looks a little busy right now. So
you should have said hi.
No, it's all good. That place you see somebody once, and then it's a big place. So I'm sure you'll be back at PRI this year, running around and everything.
Yep. I think this new project car will be in a booth there too. So
sure. Absolutely, man. That's so cool. I saw Jordan Cross posted a tooth jerker in the house. So
tooth jerker in the
house. You guys were at Lights Out with the is it I don't want to mess it up. It's a dart. Yep. Dart. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that thing is
the dart.
It's the dart. It's the world's fastest leaf sprung car. Yeah.
Danny Digby's on here.
You can get this cash at LSX versus the world.
No, Danny Digby above that's Jason Digby owns the tooth jerker dart.
Oh, okay.
You'll never meet a bunch of guys that have more heart than those guys. We just have had a blast with them. We've only been to one race so far with them, but we were pretty fortunate. We were working on them a couple things with them early in the year, and we had an opportunity to help their program out, and they had obviously help us out a little bit. And so we're pretty excited about going to some more drag radio races. That's where I get down, and my girlfriend won't go to the races with me because I'm just here, there, everywhere. I'm just talking to everybody and helping, trying to figure out what we can do and what we can make, and it's just a blast. If you've never gone to a Ducks race, you owe it to yourself to go to one of those.
Yeah, maybe I can do it in what is it? October, whatever. November.
October, yeah.
October, yeah. So I'd love to, man. It's a heck of a trip. Well, you know it. It's a long trip from up here in the Midwest and stuff to get down there, but it's worth it. It's definitely the event. And I guess for you and partnering up with those guys and putting your logo there across the side of the car, which it couldn't have been a better matching car for the logo and everything. It looks so good on there. The amount of people that get on and watch it on the live stream and just being there in person, it's a ton of exposure out there. So that's you're planning it well. You're putting yourself in. I've seen some other YouTube channels and the stuff that people are using your products and all that. So it's cool, man. I'm glad to see it.
I think one of the reasons why we were so excited about working with Lyle and Jason and all those guys is our focus is just racing, the new style small tire racing. So we got our roots in the LS stuff, but we're branching out all over the place. And a lot of the new products that you'll see coming from us are just very much helpful to people and fill in gaps in the market that cover everything from that to what I build and what you build and everything else. So
sure. And I'll say it from my experience. I mean, I've had some questions for Doug and I've sent him a message and you're right back to me, man. I appreciate that, and I know you're doing that for many, many other people. So if you guys have something you're working on and Doug can help you out, I know he's more than willing. I know he can say that he'll help you out or he'll respond, but he gets back to me super fast, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you getting on here, and you're a good dude in the car industry for sure, and that's
Yeah, I
pretty
try.
awesome to see everything you're doing.
I know there's a point where I won't be able to respond to everybody, and I sometimes there's weeks when I get that way, but I always try and circle back. I'll just roll back through
Sure.
my messages, and
Yeah, and
I just think
that's
it's
what it's
important.
about.
I think it's important that people have like a real resource. We've I've built enough stuff and have enough contacts that if I don't know, I can get people set up with somebody who does.
Sure.
The thing I hated
Absolutely.
about this industry, and one of the reasons why we started was because it was such like a old boys club. Like if you knew this person or you were friends with so and so, like you could get an answer, or you could get the latest product. So like I just remember how many times when I first started racing, like I'd buy something and be like, oh, but you only have version 1. Now there's version 3. I'm like, dude, I bought this 2 months ago. How did that, like, who do you have to be to get that part? So I hope we can change the industry a little bit in terms of that.
Sure, absolutely. What if somebody needs to get a hold of you or whatever, what's all your handles? I know you have your Motion Raceworks
Yep.
Facebook, you got
Yep.
Instagram, you got everything. And then you also have a page personally for you that's it's a like page or
Yeah.
however
So
you
I,
want to say
I
it.
set I set this up. I'm huge in social media, man. I just thrive on it. So I just at night I read books about it. But like my goal is I need to find a way to set up so that our business never changes the way it is. Like I don't want to be the guy like in a desk and have like 17 managers that handle everything. So I'm gonna find managers that take care of that shit so I can still be with my people. But so I set up a business page. It's like an entrepreneur page, whatever, because on your personal page, as soon as you hit 5,000 likes, you can't get any more, and then everybody thinks you're a stuck-up asshole because you won't accept a friend request. And I'm not the guy who's going to delete people or anything. So I was like, just go over here. People message me there. I message them back, and my email, all that stuff. So
Absolutely. So if you guys have any questions for Doug or myself or anything, post it down below. Any comments, let us know, and we'll try to comment on anything that we can. We appreciate everybody tuning in too. This is always a good time. And if you guys please put your notifications on for whenever I'm doing that, my little plug of the night, I guess. So then I can when I go live, I always try to do it somewhat consistent, but with a full-time job, it's hard to always schedule it and with everybody else. So
yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do. Yes.
I was thinking the other day, I'm like, people like think social media is so bad because there's so much like news and stuff on it. But how cool is it that we're living in a world where you can watch like a TV show about exactly what you want to watch, like about LT swap stuff. I
Right.
just think that's
Yeah,
awesome.
man, it's so cool. Or like this, like I have questions. I'll just hit up Doug and we'll just get it on a split screen and we'll actually
Yeah,
talk about it. If it was more technical, you could actually show the parts and pieces or whatever you had to do. But
yeah. Hey, Danny, I think you're gonna have to talk to my girlfriend about that. He said I'm super cute, so Danny Davis down there.
so you're out of Iowa, right?
Yep.
Is
So
that
we're in the Quad Cities. A lot of people have heard of the Quad Cities. It's not. I mean, we don't have donkeys walking around the streets here. Not too far from here. But we're about 2 hours from Chicago. 2.5 hours from Chicago.
oh, okay. So you're pretty close always up there to like
Yeah,
PRI or any of that stuff. But you're also in the deep cold when it wants to get cold where you're at, it'll
it sucks. It's been cold, so um, finally getting motivated, get back in the garage. It's warming up a little bit, so.
and then you said your girlfriend's out here in Colorado, so you travel out here
Yep, I
some
work I
here.
work remotely a lot. I'll go out there a week or two a month, which lends itself really well to helping people because that kind of forces me to talk to people and it kind of balances out because I tend to sometimes I get my head in the garage too much and then I'm like, nope, you got to get out and talk to people again. I don't want to become a big box store, so it's pretty cool.
Right.
David
So do you
Fender.
have any, other guy can touch on secondary fuel system on the Nova, injector size, ECU type, and fuel type?
Yep. So the Nova has a dual fuel system, so it's like it actually works out perfectly for drag week because my buddy over at Tinworks Fabrication down the road from me built this badass fuel cell that I dreamed up, and I think it's like 16 gallons pump gas for the direct injection, which we run the LT4 system pump and injectors, and then we have like a 6-gallon race gas setup. So both of the regular DI system is unique because I don't do like the PWM or any of that stuff. I actually run just a regular MagnaFuel 4303 pump on that, and then just return it like a normal fuel system, which is what a lot of people don't know and are kind of scared about. But then on my secondary system, I just have a MagnaFuel 4703. I run C16 on that one, which is nice. That one turns on at 0 kPa or 0 psi, I guess. So it's right as it's starting to get into boost, it's starting to pour in fuel. My goal on this project was never to like stretch the DI system because I just know from just the design of the DI system that it has its shortcomings as far as big horsepower stuff. And I spent a good 6 months or a year before I built this car kind of researching and going from different resource to resource to check into that. Basically what I learned is that the way it's designed is not made to push above certain power levels safely. Not that you can't deliver the fuel, but let's try and keep the motor together. And I had a lot of money on that motor. So, that one just goes through a set of FID 1600 injectors. Just run at standard 43 PSI, boost reference, target same fuel, air fuel that we do with like a standard LS motor across the board. I haven't found anything overly crazy about it. We've been running this thing a little bit fat, but that's just probably more because we haven't leaned on it much. And that's about it. I mean, I think people overthink this LT stuff a little bit too much. And from what I think the world has proven is you see GM putting the port injection now on the LT5 at that bigger horsepower level than the LT4 had. And I think there's a lot of reason and proof behind why they're adding that secondary fuel system. I know the haters will say that, oh man, I saw so-and-so made 1500 on DI only. And I mean, that's cool. If they get it to work, that's awesome. I've seen a lot of piston failures and people hurting valves and dropping valve seats and stuff on the high horsepower DI only stuff. So whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, that's why I wrote a port injection system on mine.
Sure. And then it's easier to control and all. If anybody hasn't played with a stock computer compared to an aftermarket ECU, it's so much easier when you start playing with boost and just setting up your fuel maps, and you're playing with one table, maybe two. You're not playing with 13 different tables that are trying to tell it to do it what it wants. So
the DI system on that new computer is absolutely atrocious. Basically throw everything you know about tuning out the window. You're now into you can't tune it. We tried to do speed density on my car. At least thus far with HP tuners or GM, you can't run speed density. That motor wants to have a torque-based fuel model, and my God, are there a lot of modifiers to it. So getting that right's tough, and it's definitely has a lot of its own challenges behind it. So, but yeah, if you don't know about that, HP Tuners is putting a lot of effort and stuff into their Gen 5 stuff. They know it's the EFI of the future, and they have a pretty good handle on it. When we finally got like my car to go 100% throttle, Jan Muller from HP Tuners was like the guy. My brother does all the tuning for us, but Jan was like, he was like on a text, just blowing me back and forth, blowing it up. Like, he's like, do this. And, so we're just like because he'd never even messed with some of this stuff. So we were just trying things back and forth. But yeah, HB Tuners is where it's at. So
Yeah. So, and you're a dealer, right?
yeah, we're a dealer.
So I'll be ordering a cable from you soon because I'm going to need one for that deal. Do you have any, from what you've learned on it, for me doing just kind of a basic swap, is there anything kind of weird with signals that you have to do to get it to, is there anything weird with the fuel system? And
yeah, so there's a number of variations and sensors that they've done throughout the years. That was one of our first struggles. They have so you have to get the sensors right. Some of them still plug in the same, but they're different, which is different than the LS stuff in my opinion. But and then that motor has to have a speed signal. So the trucks, the Corvettes, the Camaros, they all had a pulse VSS signal, which is a VR sensor from the factory that was on a wheel sensor. And that's how it actually reads to calculate the torque-based fueling. So that was another thing that we struggled with because we didn't have that hooked up originally. So in like the 9th hour before drag week, we were like, I took a VR sensor out of a cam off of a Coyote motor and like soldered 2 wires to it and then just rigged it up on my rear end to one of our billet drive shaft wheels. And then my brother went in and did all the calculations and scaled everything. And then it was like, here we are, we're coming to life now. So that's a big one that most people don't think about. The fuel system stuff's pretty straightforward as far as you can set the pressure to a constant. From the factory, it wants to do a pulse width modifier or modulation on the fuel pump. I'm not sure why GM did that, kind of like the old Ford stuff. But you can set that to a constant and do a return style fuel system, which I think is better. I don't know beyond that. I'm sure there's
more. We're talking a little bit of Chinese, and I'm about ready to do a swap. So I'm like, oh man, I got to figure some stuff out. But yeah, I know that it depends on what companies you use and stuff too to get the harness and get the little thing set up. Yeah, so
I think the important part is buying a harness from, if you're not doing it yourself, buy it from somebody reputable that has like a reputation for that, because definitely a way harder swap than an LS motor was. There's just a lot more going on, and everything's got to be right. And one of the things we struggled with is I remember when we were doing the Novo, I was like, oh man, because when if you've done like an LS or any other motor swap, you're like Googling like this problem.
Yeah.
Like I realized in the middle of my Nova swap that I was the guy that should be writing those articles. So I'm like, there's not even anything to Google. So, but yeah, if you get from a reputable person that understands it, and I'll always pick up the phone too. But
sure,
there's just a lot more intricacies with the harness, and I hope with our new YouTube reality documentary series that like it kind of will hopefully shed some light on a lot of that as we go through our next build, and watch a video a night and hopefully learn a thing or two that'll save you 10 hours of sleeping on the couch. So
going to sleep mad because you can't figure it out and waking up the next morning and still not knowing what the heck to do. And I get it, man.
Yeah.
That's so rough. But when you're in the middle of a build and you're trying to get something done, that's where it's at. But that's what I was kind of looking at too. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this LT because then everybody's going to say it's an LS, but at least I'm not just LS swapping another vehicle. So I'll do something a little different. And there's not a lot of info still to this day. I mean, you're kind of that one that's even through your little blog write-ups and stuff about what you found. That's kind of really a lot of the information out there. I guess there's a few swaps now, but not
there's
not
a few.
bunch.
A lot of the guys you'll find are using just like the GM harness plugged into a GM crate motor, and that works really okay because you're just putting power and grounds. So it's when you step outside of that things get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, I think I'm going to spray. I think I'm going to spray it because I want to have the mass airflow and I want to have all the factory sensors on the car. So we'll see what it'll take. But it's kind of, I was like, well.
Unlike the LS stuff, you have to have a MAF sensor on the LT stuff. So just plan on, that's one thing that people don't plan on that you need to plan on. So.
Gotcha. Very cool. Danny and April are always joking around in here.
I saw Brandon asked if I got new A-arms on the Nova. I did get new TRZ A-arms on the Nova. So
cool. What the Nova's got a 25? Is it 25.5 car or 25?
25.5 car. The saving grace of that car is that it was a very well ironed out chassis prior to me getting it, so that made things really easy once I finally did get the car running. Easier.
Yeah, the 790 pass or whatever in the video, it just kind of barely carries the wheels just a little bit, and it sets down and rides right out through there, working really good. Yeah,
the one thing I kind of neglected on this build, because it was supposed to be more of a street car that kind of got out of control, was I didn't really get the weight ratios right. So the pass after we went 770, like we put one more degree of time in it just on the bumper. And if you've ever raced a car with electronic throttle body, you can't blip the throttle. Like I shifted gears and it was pouring the boost in and it was staying up, and I blipped the throttle and I'm like, well, I'm dumping the throttle and it's going to break A-arms or something. And I slammed it down and it broke A-arms and left grooves from the transmission pan in the track. So that was fun. But
what do you have in it? A Glide or a 400? I think
it's got a 169 Glide in it.
Okay. Cool. What's that thing weigh? Is it pretty heavy?
Yeah, we originally thought it was going to be pretty light. But by the time we were all said and actually after it went 770, I was kind of under the assumption it was like 3,000, 3,100. I put it on the scales, it was like 3,370. I'm like, geez, this thing it's not by no means a welterweight. So
no, especially with the aluminum block and everything else, it's not like you can just go jerk weight out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to take weight out of that car, so it's just time to turn the boost up a little higher.
You're not worried? You think the head sealing issue will be a lot better with the LT on boost? Like, because you got a 4-bolt deal, there's no 6-bolt block. So because of the bolt, or you think the design, or why do you think that'll be better on the LTs?
They got a bigger head bolt from the factory, so without having to do modifications, you have that. I haven't had any issues. AES has that thing sealed up their own special way. I don't know what Tony did to that motor, but yeah, I don't know. It hasn't been an issue thus far, and I think we all kind of jumped to 6-bolt heads way back in the day, thinking that there was a problem, and I think a lot of the world jumps too soon, and a lot of it's tune-up related and component related as far as head sealing. So I'm not overly concerned about it. We've only put like 23, 24 pounds of boost to this thing so far. So we'll see this year. I just saw Tristan from Precision messaging me, but he's going to send me some horsepower in the mail here in the next couple days. So
those are always the best packages there.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess we start turning those 76s to like 33 pounds or something, and it might be a different story, but we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be cool, man. That's part of it, though, figuring out the limit. Somebody's got to be the first.
Yeah, yep. I'm not afraid to break shit either, so.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. It's cool. I mean, having a world record of anything other than it's a blue car with a white top and it's got these wheels on it, so you're the fastest now, but you've been the fastest with that engine. That's saying something. And not some crazy chassis either. Like you said, 3,300 pounds. It's pretty common. It's
got buggy springs and a drag radial, man. I know when we first set that record, I mean, we crushed it by like over a second, and everybody's like, "Oh man, you're not as heavy." I was like, "Dude, I will put the weight in this car and still drag the next guy down the track." So
there's a truck overseas, right? Have you seen that? It's like a single cab twin turbo truck.
Those guys got it going. I think it's Take-Em Motorsports, but man, those guys got it going on. I talked to I don't know, the guy's name's slipping my mind now, but that guy is a very intelligent individual. He kind of helped HB tuners way back. Like, he's way more pioneer than I could ever intend to be, but they're going fast with trucks, like heavy trucks. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing looked like it was moving pretty good. I was like, well, it's cool to see some of the builds, though, and they're different, and they're they're different, but they're the same. They're not too far off from what everybody's doing. So
yeah, and I think I wish I remembered his name, but I think he has a 5.3 in the one truck, so that's pretty cool.
yeah, I think it's a twin turbo. I think it's got good internals or something I read on there or whatever. But either way, that's a big truck that is making some power. So it's cool
making some steam. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else you guys got? Any last questions before we take care of this deal? Or Doug drops this?
Yeah, no, I got to plug my phone in. I charge my phone about 4 times every day.
Right. So any last questions? This is your time, guys. Doug has a lot of knowledge in any of that LT stuff, or just in parts in general, or 2 JZs for life.
Yeah, well, everybody. There's always one guy in the crowd.
There's always got to be someone.
Well, Tristan. Yeah, if like I said, if anybody else has questions, my phone's always on. I might not respond to you instantly, but I'll get back to you. I always circle back a little ways on my messages, and you can reach us at motionraceworks.com. Pretty fun to watch our motion manufactured parts at the top of our online store because every day the list keeps growing bigger and bigger. So there'll be a lot more LT stuff on there in the next month or two. So.
And if someone wants to become a dealer of your parts, is that something that you're doing, or is that all sold just to you?
We're strategically looking for dealers throughout the U.S. We want to make sure that the people that are our dealer we take care of, and they take care of us. One of the things we struggle with some of the big businesses that have multiple locations is just getting like stuff there in the amount of days that they need it by, because everybody thinks about stuff on Wednesday and they're going racing on Friday. So luckily we've teamed up with some pretty cool companies around the U.S. and our whole goal is to make sure that the people we team up with kind of have the same ideals as us. So I saw Brandon Strauss asked what the ET goal with the Nova was this year. It's going $699, or I'm hanging the rods out the side of it, so I'll put that on record.
Go beat some people in some no preps, and then get towards the end of the year and turn that thing up and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan. We'll see how the Leaf Springs do in no prep. I feel like we might be fighting an uphill battle, but I'm sure to give it a shot.
Yeah, it happens. I'm putting on a race July 28th. Thin air here in Pueblo. So if you feel like loading the car up and coming out, it's a little no prep race we do here. It's not some big crazy payouts, but it's a great time with really cool cars and people and everything. Just kind of that hometown feel, I guess, to it. So invite
what's the elevation in Pueblo?
So elevation in Pueblo is 4,600, but if you go DA on any given time, you're talking 6,000 plus easy.
Okay. So.
But you gotta come out here and try to play with the tune a little bit. Boosted car is not so bad because it'll make up for it, makes its own air, so it's not as detrimental to the tune on boosted cars. But it's fun, it's a good time, and you're more than welcome to come out. And if you need anything to get out here, just let me know, and I'll give you all the info or whatever you need. So love to have you out here to.
I know I've seen pictures of that track. Are there even guardrails up there? Or?
Oh yeah, no, it's concrete. It's actually got a new surface as of new concrete surface a few years ago. And then what it is you have the track, and then you got like 6 to 8 foot of dirt, and then you have the concrete walls. So it's not like some of the K-Rail tracks where it's real tight. You got plenty of room, plenty of shutdown. It's came around pretty well in the last few years, and
that's awesome.
A lot of things happening and everything. So the city invested some money into it, so it's pretty good. It's a good time.
That's cool.
Karen's finally coming out. Thanks, Karen. They were out here last year helping some guys thin air, and it's just a good time. It's not going to be some 50,000 a win deal or whatever, but I know you like Colorado anyway, so give you a reason to come out and hang out.
Yeah, if either of the cars are out there at that time, I'm definitely coming down. So
cool, man. Well, if there's anything else you got or want to tell the people, or
no. I don't think so, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate everybody tuning in for us and hanging out and chatting. And listen to what we have to say tonight, and I'll be back with another one. I'm sure I'll put Doug on here again. Maybe when he gets closer with his build, we'll get you on here and talk some more about it and see what you come up with on it.
Cool, man.
Right on, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. We'll see you.
Yeah.